Interesting stuff, and it's great to have you again, Dr.
Kalsum Zakaria Adam. She's a public health practitioner, national coordinator for Young Medical Women International Association of Medical Women Association of Ghana.
Oh, Charlie, the post is large.
What a profile.
Oh, interesting.
Doc, thank you. Thanks for joining us again on Sunday Breakfast. Let's do a quick recap of last week's headlines.
I've been reading
the news for so long.
Yeah, I know. I understand.
I've been reading the news for so long.
That's completely fine.
Forgive me. Yeah.
We'll recap the headlines.
The headlines of the head and neck infection.
Thank you very much.
I like that. Anyway, okay. So last week we started talking about head and neck infections, especially delving more into odontogenic spreading infections. And we spoke about the fact that head and neck infections are actually quite common. And basically because of the fact that people are ignorant about it. And 90% of it is actually caused by chronic toothache that has been neglected for a very long time. And it's been treated over the period with maybe just some over-the-counter analgesics, and it tends to continue to spread in facial spaces within the head and then the neck region, giving us very complicated states of patients that end up coming to us at the emergency. And at that time, our hands become very tired, and we actually would have to do everything to keep them alive. Yes, so the take-home usually, I mean, basically would be that something as common as toothache can lead to the death of somebody.
When it becomes complicated.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. Yeah.
So today, still on head and neck infections, but as you said last week, there are a lot of regions. We have the eyes, we have the ears, we have the mouth. What are we focusing on today?
Okay, so we would focus basically on some of the causes.
Okay.
Because it's very important that people are educated about the causes. Once you know the cause, you would be able to prevent it. You would be able to seek for help when it's due. And also we will talk basically about some of the treatments, modalities that are available, so that in case you notice that you have any of those signs and symptoms associated with it, you quickly ask for help. So I would start by saying that yes, head and neck infections odontogenic cause are very, very prevalent. And every now and then, you see a lot of patients coming in very, very sick. Very, very sick. I need to emphasize that. And it's sad because they would have had this little pain somewhere in their mouth or somewhere in their throat or somewhere maybe they may have had some fracture that hasn't been treated, hasn't been given the adequate attention for a very long time, and they have neglected it. So neglects, and then the fact that they end up seeking other alternative means of having to solve the problem. And before they come, they end up having so many issues that need to be sorted out. So one of the issues that I have noticed in my practice is the fact that they come in very sick, dehydrated. That means that they haven't had enough fluids in their system, more nourished. And then some of them tend to may have abused other things, like the NSAIDs that we spoke about last week, predisposing them to getting stomach ulcers already, which is also reducing their immunity, because the body is in such a way that it's been made in such a way that it has some innate immunity. So when I say innate immunity, I mean that it's able to solve a problem when it sees that, okay, you're getting sick. How are you getting sick? Is there any foreign thing coming into you? So they quickly are able to notice that, okay, this is an infection. So let's quickly clear it.
So foreign bodies coming into contact with your system.
Exactly, with your system.
Well, because last week you mentioned to us that from your teeth, from your tonsils,
yes,
from salivary glands.
Yes, from salivary
and
glands.
And now foreign bodies.
Remember, that's good.
Oh yeah, no, I try to be a
smart student.
I try to be a
very
good student.
smart.
So now we are also understanding foreign bodies getting into contact with your system.
Exactly.
Wow.
Then you
When
tend to
you say
have
foreign bodies, though, Doc, what do you mean?
So foreign bodies can be from anything that is not yourself. Can be foreign body. So from even considering a microorganism, the body can see it as foreign. If you have, let's say, an impacted, let's say, a denture, or you have an impacted, what do I use? Silica. Silica is normal sand.
Okay.
You get it. Assuming you are in a road traffic accident and then you tend to there's break in any part of your body. So let's say the commonest would be your skin or inside your mouth. What will be there will be the mucosa. It is just like the skin. You get it. So once you have a break in that, and then you have these things that are not supposed to be self getting into it, it is considered as a foreign body, and it can end up. To add more to the foreign body, let's say in ENT like this, you tend to have children who are not supervised, having to swallow or even aspirate coins. You get it. Some can be even the zippers. You know, all sorts of things. All of these things can be considered as foreign body to the system.
Will you then say, for example, instances like trauma can be a
Yes.
foreign body?
No. So trauma can lead to the introduction of a foreign body into
Into your
the
Oh,
system.
okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So trauma in itself, it's a broad category of causes of a particular disease. You get it. And through these big blocks of causes, you can have any of them giving you a foreign body that may end up harming you.
Okay.
You get it, yes.
Okay, so
So-
sand, plastics, bottle caps,
Exactly.
those little
yes,
things.
are all foreign
Right.
to the system.
Okay.
All right. So we'll continue by saying that when the patient comes to you, usually what we do is that we would want to assess quickly and be able to tell where the infection is located. So the head and neck is divided into different little spaces. So when I talk about the spaces that are related to the upper jaw, we would say that there's a space right here. We call it below the ear. It's below the eye. So infraorbital. Orbital in the medical term is the eye. You get it. So when you have any swelling, sometimes you tend to have this swelling that is just here, over the cheek. We call it an infraorbital swelling. Then you can end up having a swelling that would affect your upper lip, such that your upper lip will now look fuller than it should be.
Aren't
That
people
is also-
aiming for fuller lips now? Giving
Yes,
themselves
but
all
the
sorts of
abnormal one.
injections? Okay.
The abnormal one.
Right.
So they tend to have this fuller lip than, normal. You would see the discrepancy between the upper lip and the lower lip.
Right.
Then you know that it is not normal. Then there are times that they tend to have, there's another space here, just where at the sides of your brain, we call it the infratemporal space. So this space here, you tend to have this bulge there as well. You know, and because you have this bone here that we call the zygoma, so anytime you have a bulge on this side, we tend to call it an hourglass
Oh, okay.
appearance. So there's a bulge here, then the bone is here before you have your normal contour of your face. You get it. So that can also tell us that this is an infection that is spreading upwards and can actually get to your brain, and it can even get to other
Parts of the
danger areas that we call that are very related to the brain. I don't want to bore you with all the medical terms. Okay, and then again, some may come with regularly. If you should open your mouth, you notice that the tongue is lying nicely in the floor of your mouth.
Yeah.
But in such cases, you notice that the tongue is pushed up to the extent that it is touching the roof of your mouth. So in that case, they tend not to be able to breathe properly. It compromises on their breathing. That is also another sign that you can easily pick up. Another could be that you could have the bulge. I think last week we spent a little time
Yeah.
demonstrating a picture here that had a bulge just below the bone here. That's also another indication. Then
So they're on our screens, right?
Yes. Okay, so there's another picture on the screen. Doesn't look too clear. But, okay, so we would. Okay, so we can still talk about it.
Yeah.
So this in this picture is showing. You can see a big sore.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's because the infection went all the way to below the bone, and you can see that it is getting to the front of the neck. You can see from the side all the way to the front. So such a person ended up having a toothache that was not treated. And when he came in, the swelling had gone all the way. It was actually even going all the way to the lower neck and then getting into where your heart is, the mediastinum. But then thankfully he came in and we're able to sort it out. This is another. This other picture is showing another.
Wow.
You can see the extent of destruction in this. It has gone all the way, and this is in a female. It went all the way to even the breast, the skin related to the breast, and you can see that everything had to be taken away. So we call it the bridma, where we would have to take away the skin.
Ow.
And then we would have to take away all the infection that is below the skin.
It's painful.
It is quite a very, very,
Gory scene.
yes, and devastating for the patients. Even though we do all of this under anesthesia, so they don't tend to feel the pain. But then you can see the destruction. So for such a patient, if the patient ends up being stable and is discharged, it will mean that to be able to get this much skin cover, you need plastics to come in and then get some skin from other parts of your body to cover where the whole
Yeah,
infection
I think I've
destroyed.
seen this before. I think 2019, we had the CTFM Easter Orphan Project, right? Or no, Help a Christmas Child. And we went to the Kolebu Burns and Plastic Center. At the time, the CEO was the head of the plastic center, Dr. His name, Opoku, yeah.
I
Opoku,
think
right.
he's still there.
Yes. So he's the CEO of Kolebu. At the time, he was at the Benz. And the scenes there were like you are saying, devastating. Like, so you see a little child who's been bandaged all over his body, and some of them with the skin almost peeling off.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you can see. I mean, so from a simple toothache, and this is what you end up, and people even go beyond this and end up losing their lives.
But Dr. Adam, what are the excuses when they come to you? Like, for you to get a toothache and wait for it to get this far, what are their excuses?
So mainly the excuses are one, we thought that we could just use some painkiller and it will go. That's one excuse, very, very common excuse. Another would be that, we just went to a nearby pharmacy and they gave us some medications and we thought we were fine.
Wow.
Another would be that they would say, we had this herbalist around who said, we could use these leaves and concoctions, just dip it in there and then I'll be fine.
Right.
Others too would say that, yes, I noticed it, but I was scared to come to the hospital. So I spoke to another relative and maybe the relative said, I had this before and I treated it with maybe this particular medication. So go get this medication. And then they get it and then that's it. Others too would say, yes, popularly, they get advice from neighbors that, once you have this particular toothache, you can use acids to numb it. So they get them car battery. Can you imagine?
Yeah, you mentioned it last weekend,
Yes.
and I'm still very
Yes, and in such cases,
scandalized. Yes, scandalized
and in
by
such
it.
cases, when they come, you notice that not only do they have the infection going down, but they may have sustained burns.
Oh God.
Intense burns
It's acid.
Doc.
within. You know how acids,
Yeah.
even if it touches you,
Yeah,
how it
it's-
burns, you know?
I feel you.
Yes, they tend to have that, and it's very, very quiet, devastating in such states.
A viewer, Michael Edufu, is watching and he's saying that my teeth doesn't ache, but I occasionally see blood when I'm brushing my teeth. Is it a cause for concern?
Okay, so if we remember from last week, I mentioned that spreading odontogenic infections can come from so many areas. It can come from the tooth itself, it can come from your throat, it can come from your tonsils, it can come from the supporting structures of the teeth. And the supporting structures of the teeth are your gums. So your gums actually, so the gum is the flesh. When you give a broad smile, the flesh. Okay, so usually if you are brushing and then you see blood, it means that the gums have some infection in there. And that can also lead to the spreading infection if it is not treated. So the gum bleeding can be can give you an indication of two things. One would be that just the gum, just the flesh, has an infection that needs to be treated. Okay, so you need to have some thorough cleaning done. That's one. Another could be that it has been neglected for too long a period that it is affecting the bone that supports the teeth.
Oh, okay.
You get it. So if in that case you wouldn't only have bleeding when you brush, but some of the teeth would be shaking. You get it. So there are two categories. Either you have just the gingivitis, or you have gingivitis and periodontitis, which is a severer form of the gum disease. So he needs to have it checked. He needs to go in and then they will check and then see if, the state in which it has gotten to, and then it can be treated for him. And then I'm sure he'll be given some other personal hygiene instructions that he needs to take home and then adhere to.
I hear people also use hydrogen peroxide.
Yes.
Is it
so
advisable?
Hydrogen peroxide, yes. Hydrogen peroxide has some antimicrobial effects, but it is not routinely recommended. So unless your doctor looks and then recommends that, okay, you need this hydrogen peroxide, and then will give you particular indications and instructions as to how to use it, then yes, it can be indicated. It doesn't mean that anytime you have any problems in there, you go and then purchase yourself hydrogen peroxide. No, not at all. Because even the percentages that it comes in, we have about 6%, which are quite high. And if we should use it directly, you may end up causing burns as well to your gums and then your mucosa. Yes. So it's not something that let it be prescribed for you. And you'll be given indications and then correct instructions as to how to use it. Yes.
Still on teeth, just then a brief one. Will you say for those who are having their wisdom tooth come out, are they more susceptible to these infections?
Okay, so wisdom teeth usually would come out at about, now people, because of our diet, the usual times that they usually would come out into the gums are 18, when you're about 18 years. But now you get people as 16 years, 17 years having it come out. The problem with the wisdom tooth is the fact that usually they do not come out fully because of differences in inheritance.
Okay.
So you may have inherited smaller jaws from your mom and maybe bigger teeth from your dad. So you get it. So if you have inherited these different features from two different people, there will be some discrepancy in the arrangement of the teeth.
Okay.
So the most affected tooth will be the wisdom tooth, but that's the last tooth that comes out. So it's likely the time that it has to come out, there isn't enough space for it to come out and then fit. So half of it may come out and half will still be embedded in there. And that is where the problem is. So those types of teeth are called impacted teeth. So impaction is like there's just some mechanical obstruction to its path of eruption. So the mechanical obstruction can either be bone or it can either be gum, which is your soft tissue. So that's where the problem is. So in such cases, you have a lot of people having part of the tooth out, part still embedded in. So you have gum covering it. So when you have gum covering it, it forms a pocket.
Oh, okay.
So that pocket, anytime you chew, imagine you're always chewing, you're eating, you're doing all of those things. Anytime you chew, the food will pack beneath that pocket.
Yeah.
And then your upper tooth bites on it. When your upper tooth bites on it, you get it causes a cut.
Oh, okay.
So once it gets that cut, then it means that a foreign body or a microorganism can get into that cut.
I get
So
what
once it gets into that cut, it means that an infection process can start. And if that infection process starts, then it's spreading infection.
Wow.
All right, before I ask my next question though, if you have any questions, any concerns, or you just want to contribute to the discussion, the WhatsApp number is 0204-447-033, and on all our social media handles, don't forget to hashtag Sunday Breakfast. The number again is 0204-447-033. We're having a discussion on head and neck injuries here on Sunday Breakfast with Dr. Adam. Doc, this is a country where, we don't really concern ourselves with going to the dentist when we have a toothache. Like you said, people wait till the last minute.
Exactly.
How do we change that?
Okay, so I think what the advocacy has to increase.
Right.
In the sense that it's recommended that you visit every 6 months so that if there are any issues within your mouth,
Right.
it is detected early. And then the brushing, as I mentioned the last time, you need to be able to change your toothbrush every 3 months. And then another thing would be that you should floss. A lot of people don't floss. So sometimes when they come in with these infections, I always say that maybe the education is not out there as to how to clean or keep good oral hygiene. That's one of the main things that I have noticed. Another could be that if you're looking at the other causes, it means that people don't just get up and see that, okay, I have a throat pain, so I'm going to see the ENT surgeon. No, they wait. They wait till
They
it
can't
becomes
wait any longer.
Exactly.
And
You
they
get
stuff
it.
their
So
stuff
it
with
is,
vitamin
I
C.
think it is a health-seeking behavior as a country, because we are not like outside the country where you have organized systems where you'll be called that, okay, it's time for you to come in for this particular appointment. It's time for you to come in for your cleaning. It's time for you to have even, let's say, your breast checked. It's time for you to have your HPV done. We don't have such systems that have been put in place. And that is one of the main issues when it comes to this.
We have some questions here for you. Na in Teshi wants to know, what's the role of imparted tooth in neck and chest infections?
Okay, I think that is what
That's what you answered. Okay. And Dede and Dasma wants to know how often. You already mentioned that, 6 months. And Mami in Tema says, what foods can we consume to keep the gum healthy?
Okay, so that is still, the gums are part of your body. So it's a balanced diet. So make sure that you incorporate a lot of fruits and vegetables in your diet. So fruits and vegetables, make sure that you have some citrus fruits that contain vitamin C, especially because we tend to have something we call scurvy as well. That's when you have some deficiency in vitamin C. You get it. So make sure that in your diet you have a balanced diet. Lots of vegetables, lots of water, and then fruits should help you keep a good diet.
Sensitive teeth, let's talk about that.
Okay.
Someone wants to know, they have sensitive teeth when they eat, when they drink water, whether it's cold or not.
Okay. So sensitivity usually would come in, I think last week we spoke a little about it. So sensitivity will come in when you have exposure of the second layer of the tooth. So that's the dentine. That is where you have nerves that are connected to the pulp, which is the third layer. So sensitivity has a lot of areas that we can talk about. So one of them is even consumption of fizzy drinks, a lot of fizzy drinks. So people who tend to take in a lot of fizzy drinks, there's something we call tooth wear. So you tend to eat away or cause erosion.
I was coming
Yes.
to say the exact word.
Erosion. So
Tooth
you tend
erosion.
to, yes. So you tend to erode the enamel, which is the first layer of the tooth. You get it. So once you tend to erode the enamel, then it means that whatever that you put in your mouth now is in direct contact with your dentine, which is a sensitive part of the tooth. So you tend to have sensitivity. That is one. Another could be that there are people who have some systemic conditions, like GERD. So GERD is gastroesophageal reflux disease. You know that within your stomach, something we call acid, HCl, is produced from our basic science,
Yeah.
you know. Good. But there are certain individuals that tend to have incompetency of the sphincter within the stomach that would have to keep the acid down there. So they tend to belch a lot. So you belching a lot means that a lot of the acid would come back into the mouth. So when it comes into the mouth and then it has an effect on the teeth, you tend to have erosion as well, and that can give you the sensitivity that we are talking about. Another could be bad brushing technique. So people are brushing this way all the time. Let's say, imagine you're brushing this way for the next 20 years. So you tend to have gutters formed around your teeth. So the gutters that have been formed around your teeth, usually they are called cervical abrasions, and that can also give you sensitivity anytime you take in cold food or warm foods. Another could be still the brushing technique. People brush up, down, up, down, up, down, 20 years. You're pushing your gums away from your teeth. And that can also expose...
I thought that was what was advised.
No.
Up, down, up.
The advised one is the round
We need to
brushing
bring you back
insect.
again. We need to bring you back again on a full lecture on
On how to brush your
Yeah.
teeth.
Imagine.
Because
Brushing
I've always thought
etiquette.
it was an up. And I've never heard of the circular motion. Have you?
Yeah.
clearly not. Doc, quickly, just talk to us briefly about last week you mentioned the presence of abscess and pus, right?
Yeah.
So for example, if you have some swelling, head and neck infection is what we're talking about. If you have some swelling on your neck, or it could even be your jaw, and you see pus coming out, is it a major point for concern?
Yes, it is. It is, because it can be two things. One, it could be that the bone itself is infected. The bone marrow is infected. And that's when you end up having what? Osteomyelitis. It's another topic for another discussion.
Look, you're sending us. You're sending us.
So that's another topic for discussion. Or it could be that a simple infection that is spreading through the soft tissues of the head and neck, which is what we are talking about today. So it's very important. Once you see that, hey, quickly rush to the hospital.
That's where you see the abscess or pus.
Exactly.
Forming any part of
of your body. So even, okay, so this picture can even show. So this is you can see a lot of plaque calculus with. So such a patient would have a lot of bleeding, and then you can see that the gums are reddened. You can see that there's some pus coming out through the gums as well. So such a patient, he has even multiple teeth that are involved, not even one. So in such a case, he has typical periodontitis that is going to give you the spreading infections. There was another picture, I think, that was put up earlier, where you can see that there is a bulge in the mouth, the floor, the roof of the mouth on either side. That is also another quick way to know that, hey, there's something happening. Let me quickly come and then have it. Just like you said, the abscess, seeing a brownish, purulent discharge that has a foul smell, you quickly come in and then have it checked.
We are being inundated with messages, and I don't know, listeners are now coming out wanting some expert. This one is free consultation. So if you are watching, you better send in your message now, or you pay to get it sorted out for you in the hospital. And any more messages?
Yes, so there's this one from Doris in Jolo, and she wanted to know if teeth sensitivity can be corrected.
Yes, definitely. So as I said, I mentioned quite a number of reasons
Why
why
it
you
happened.
would. So
Yeah.
it has to be diagnosed why you have this particular sensitivity, and then it can be sorted out.
Okay, and then teeth whitening. It's becoming a, should I say, it's becoming a
thing,
trend.
a thing,
Everybody's
yeah.
doing it.
whitening,
Does it
yes.
have any effect on your teeth, and
Yes,
how
so
often
teeth
should you get it
whitening,
done?
Yes, you can have teeth whitening done, but professionally, is usually recommended for people who end up who have stain or deep staining of their teeth because of a congenital problem. You get it? So some people, I always say that the face is the identity of the person. The moment I see you, the first thing I see is your face. And the next thing is, if you should have any interaction, will be your teeth. You get it? So such people, there are people who are born with something we call intrinsic staining. Or sometimes they are born because they are born with this intrinsic staining because of the kinds of medications that their parents or their mom took during, when she
pregnancy.
was, during pregnancy. You get, so it tends to affect the color of the teeth.
Yeah.
So such patients tend to have zero confidence. They don't want to even talk. And
Yeah.
confidence is everything.
I feel you.
So for such patients, it's recommended that you do the teeth whitening for them, just to be able to get them back so that they can wear their confident smiles and then all of that. But then again, there are others who tend to want to have teeth whitening for aesthetic reasons. Okay, the color of the tooth naturally it ranges from orange to cream to that range of colors. So if you should have any of these, is normal. But some people want to have teeth
White
whitening
as an angel.
pearly,
Oh God.
pearly white. So that is also there, and it can be done. The only drawback to teeth whitening is sensitivity. You may end up with sensitivity when you didn't have sensitivity.
So
the
many
first
messages
line.
coming in. This one says, good morning, I'm 38 years. I have a cavity in my teeth for years, 8 years plus, which has affected my gum with small swell with blood inside.
Yeah.
Should I eject or fill it?
No, so quickly she should move and then get to the hospital and have it checked. Once she goes there, they would run some tests, take some x-rays, and then let her know what has to be done.
Somebody wants to find out if it's safe to wear braces after all that you've said.
Bracing is a different thing.
Completely
Yes. It's a different
I
thing.
feel you.
That has to do with arrangement of
The
teeth
teeth.
to give you another look. So that's another thing. Yes, it can be
Okay.
done, but that's not
Not part of
infection.
the head and neck infection that you're
infections, yeah.
discussing today.
Okay, so this one says, I have this problem in my throat. When breathing, in my throat feels like cold, as like you're eating the mentholated toffees. And besides, I sometimes see a little blood when brushing my teeth from my throat. Any advice?
Okay, so she has to come to the hospital so that we see her. But if you feel that way, it's likely that the tonsils are huge. So if the tonsils are huge, then they tend to obstruct. Anytime maybe you're sleeping, you tend to have, you wouldn't be able to breathe the way you're supposed to be breathing. There's something we call obstructive sleep apnea as well. And most people who have hypertrophic adenoids or have the tonsils down there.
What's hypertrophy?
Okay, so hypertrophy is like hyper. Hyper means high.
Okay.
Okay, and trophy means that's growth.
Okay.
So if the growth of a particular thing is supposed to, let's say, 5 cm, but yours is about 10 cm, it's larger than, so let me just use a simple term, large. Larger than the normal size, then it's hypertrophied.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, it's always gets more exciting and interesting towards the end. I don't know if it's a thing or it's just what it is. But Doc, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you too
it's
for
been
having me.
amazing having you